In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Welcome to the world of biophysics. Due to coronavirus, we have to continue our online class. At first, I'd like to suggest you stay home, stay safe. Let me introduce. I am Mohammad Muqtadir Hossain Bhuiya, lecturer, Department of Physics. At first, observe this diagram. And now think what you have observed in this diagram. You may take 10 to 20-second time to observe this diagram. And by think yourself, what you have observed in this diagram. If you want to take more time, then you can pause the video and observe this diagram deeply. And observe this diagram too. In this figure, you have something to think about. Okay, now think what you have observed in this diagram. By observing this diagram, we can guess the name of the chapter. Actually, you know the name of the chapter. This is Science to Save Life, and previously we have done one class regarding this chapter, and this is our second lecture based on this chapter. And in previous topics, we have learned about biophysics, contribution of Jagadish Chandra Bose, human body, X-ray, MRI, endoscopy, CT scan, ECG, and ETT. And today, we are going to learn about the instrument for diagnosis of diseases in medical science, explain about angiography, explain radiotherapy, and use of isotope. These all are the topic that we are going to learn about. And after learning this topic, by attending this class, you'll be able to explain the application of ideas and theories of physics in the instrument for diagnosis of diseases in medical science, explain about angiography, and explain radiotherapy. And last but not least, use of isotope. Our first topic is angiography. To understand angiography, we have here we see a diagram. In angiography, the definition of angiography is such an imaging test where X-ray is used to view the blood vessel of the body. And here we use a dye that is termed as contrast. And uses of angiography is to remove the blockage of arteries outside the heart and enlargement of arteries, and for understanding the kidney artery conditions and problem with veins. In these purposes, we use angiography. And by doing angiography, the treatment of angiography is called angioplasty. Here, we inserted a deflated balloon in artery, and then inflated balloon compresses plaque against artery walls. By using this technique, we call it as angioplasty. Actually, the physicians can treat a blockage in a blood vessel without any surgery during an angiogram. And the mechanism or the procedure following which the blocked arteries are cleaned during an angiogram is called angioplasty. This is the definition of angioplasty and the process shown in the right side. Here, at first, we inserted a deflated balloon in a blood artery. Then, after inserting balloon, we make it inflated. We inserted deflated balloon, and after inserting a deflated balloon, we inflate this balloon, and it compresses plaque against artery walls. And this technique is angioplasty. And this procedure following which the block arteries are clear during angiogram, and this is called angioplasty. And this actually the process is called angioplasty. This is the definition of angiogram and the mechanism or the procedure following which the block arteries are clear during an angiogram, that is called angioplasty.
Coronary angioplasty, also called as the percutaneous transluminal or balloon angioplasty, is a treatment procedure to restore the blood flow in the narrowed or blocked coronary arteries caused due to plaques or blood clots. Most coronary angioplasty procedures last between 30 minutes to 3 hours. Once the patient is admitted, his heart is monitored and is given an intravenous sedative to relax the body. A needle is inserted through the wrist into the radial artery. A guard wire is then passed through the needle and is guided through the arterial system up to the heart. A flexible catheter is slipped over the wire and threaded up to the heart. This is monitored using a continuous X-ray imaging device called fluoroscope. At this point, the guard wire is removed and the tip of catheter is positioned to enter the coronary artery. A special dye is injected which allows the fluoroscope to take X-ray images of the arterial interiors and help in identifying the position of the block. This is called angiogram. Once the blockage is identified, a flexible guard wire is inserted into the artery vessel, followed by a balloon-tipped catheter over this wire to position itself at the site of the blockage. Rapid inflation and deflation of the small balloon pushes the vessel wall out, re-establishing the flow of blood in the artery. After the blocked vessel is reopened, the deflated balloon catheter is withdrawn from the artery. The same treatment procedure is repeated in the case of multiple blockages. Most patients may also receive a coronary stent, which is a small tube made of wire mesh designed to keep the artery open once it has been treated. A collapsed stent is placed over the deflated balloon catheter as it is inserted into position. When the balloon is inflated, the stent expands and locks itself into place. The deflated balloon and catheter are withdrawn, leaving the stent behind to hold the artery open permanently. Post-treatment, a pressure bandage is applied over the radial artery to prevent bleeding. One will need to lie down for several hours, during which signs of bleeding or chest pain will be monitored. The patient may either be discharged on the same day or after an overnight stay at the hospital. Coronary angioplasty.
Actually, previously you watched a video by which we can guess the procedure of angioplasty. And our next topic is radiotherapy. Radiotherapy, the word came from radiation therapy. Here, the action is we use radiation, and we use this radiation on a DNA of damaged cell, and the damaged DNA cell can be damaged, can be damaged, and finally the cell death. And a healthy cell will be uh, destroyed by radiation therapy. And actually radiation therapy is a process to cure cancer, we use a heavy ion beam for radiation source, and uh, we accelerate it approximately 70% of light speed, and we targeted these radiation therapy or these ray of beam to a target of cancer cell, and by using this radiation we can damage the DNA of the damaged cell, and finally we can destroy the cell, and by this process we can treat uh, cancer. And that we can treat cancer, abnormal nature of thyroid gland, some diseases, and concerning uh, blood and radiotherapy. Observe this table. If the disease is blood cancer, then radioactive liquid is used, that is phosphorus. And if the disease is bone cancer, then we use strontium. And if the disease is thyroid cancer, then we use iodine. And it takes drink or throw injection. The process is called brachytherapy. Here, our topic is isotope and its uses. Isotope, actually, atoms of same element having different mass number are called isotope. Hydrogen 1 to 3, there is mass number and the same proton number they have. That's why they are isotope. And they are the isotope for carbon, isotope for carbon, and their proton number are same, but neutron number is different. Here, for radioisotope or radionuclide, same chemical element is with different masses whose nuclei are unstable and dissipate excess energy by spontaneous emitting radiation in the form of alpha, beta, and gamma rays. Radioisotopes have two types of use. That is for diagnosis purpose and for treatment purpose. Here, diagnosis, the presence of harmful cancer tumor anywhere in the body or in the organ. Uh, Here, technetium 99 metastable uh, isotope is used in diagnostic studies in nuclear medicine. It is used for brain, bone, and liver and spleen imaging or scanning. Here, for the treatment, we use isotope, that is iodine 131. Here, for the treatment of abnormal growth of the thyroid gland, and phosphorus 32, that is used for blood leukemia and excess of white blood. And in nuclear medicine, radioisotopes are introduced into the body of the patient through the veins to diagnose diseases. The radioactive material are selected depending on the organ which will be examined, and moreover, field of agriculture, food preservation, controlling pest, and industries in this purpose, and we use this radioisotope for treatment purpose. Here, another one is gamma ray of cobalt 60. We use this for cancer and sterilize surgical instrument. Actually, our full chapter, uh, uh, if we conclude the full chapter, and we term this chapter, actually we can introduce the word that is biophysics. And biophysics is the definition of biophysics, that is a branch of science that uses the method of physics to study biological processes. And we have some information for Jesse Bosch. He established Bosman Mandir and composed a response in the living and non-living. and invented cascograph. These are information about Jagadish Chandra Bose. And next one, we are going to compare about human body and machine. And each organ of human body is interconnected with other organs. Each organs run at its own individual speed, and in this sense, the human body is analogous to the most complicated man-made machine. This is the interrelation between uh, mechani- uh, mechanism of human body, and we can compare human body uh, analogously to the most complicated man-made machine. And human body is like an organic machine. uh, it converts chemical energy, that is petrol, diesel, and CNG, to mechanical energy. And in human body, it transforms chemical energy to mechanical energy and heat energy by uh, food ingestion and respiration. Instrument used for diagnosis of diseases. Previously, uh, when uh, when I stayed in our college, we have learned about X-ray, ultrasonography, and CT scan. These all these diagnostic instrument that we have discussed when you uh, have regular class time, and MRI too. And recently, in our previous lecture, we have learned about ECG, ETT, and endoscopy. And okay, boys, let's recapitulate the chapter. And actually, we know about X-ray, and shortly we are going to discuss X-ray or Ramjet ray. Actually, it's introduced by discovered by Wilhelm Röntgen in 1895, and it is electromagnetic radiation, and its wavelength is 10 to the power minus 10 meter, that is less than ordinary light, and it cannot be visible by normal eyesight, and it have high penetrating power, and it's invisible and produced in an X-ray tube, that is vacuum glass tube. And the total kinetic energy of an electron is T is equal to EV. T is the kinetic energy and E is electron charge, and V is the voltage. And here shown an X-ray tube, and we know that we use a high voltage source, and we use a cathode, and behind the cathode we use a filament, and that is a filament made of tungsten, heated by use a use a filament made of tungsten, heated by a current flow, and by using this filament we heated this uh, uh, heated the negative part. And uh, from this from this terminal we have cathode part, we have electron, and it goes towards the positive part, that is anode, and is stuck to the anode. And for uh, uh, actually we want to develop X-ray from this procedure. That's why we use a high voltage source. That is important. By using this high voltage here, the electron will stuck in the anode part. Then we get X-ray here, and here the cathode and anode is called the electrode. And finally the final outcome is X-ray, and its penetrating power is more, and the wavelength is small. Uses of X-ray, we use this for diagnosis purpose, and for the displaced bone, crack in bone, bone fracture, and type of disease in face, ulcer, and decay at the root of the tooth, the stone, present in the gallbladder and kidney. Diseases of lung like pneumonia, lung cancer, chest, intestinal obstruction of abdomen. In all this, for all these diagnosis purpose, we use X-ray. And the treatment, uh, by using X-ray, we can kill the cancer cell, and cancer cell can be treated using radiotherapy that we have learned a few minutes ago. And the precaution, the patient should be covered with apron made of lead as much as possible. X-ray of abdomen and pelvic region of pregnant women should not be done except in case of emergency. This is a precaution that we have to follow when we do X-ray. And for pregnant women, it must not be, it shouldn't be done except in case of emergency. And our next topic is ultrasonography. Here, for ultrasonography, we uses a transducer ultrasound that frequency is 1 to 10 megahertz, and this sound wave goes to our body and it reflected from the internal part, and finally we use this reflected ray to see this and in the monitor, and a radiographer will use these use the sound to electrical signal and picture displays on the monitor, and this is called and this process is called ultrasonography. Here once again we use a transducer that produce sound wave, and finally it reflected from the body, and a radiographer by using a computer panel monitor, he uh, by using a computer panel monitor, we get a sound to electric signal, and the picture displays on the monitor, and this process is called ultrasonography. Here the uses of ultrasonography is obstetrics and gynecology. The fetus size, maturity, and normal and abnormal position of fetus can be known. Uterine tumors and pelvic masses can be identified. Gallbladder stone, defect in the heart, that is echocardiography, uh, also can be done by using ultrasonography. An advantage of ultrasonography is it is fast, relatively safe, reliable technique in the field of gynecology. And precaution, the transducer should always be kept in movement, so so that it doesn't become static at any position. Next topic is CT scan. Actually, we are going to discuss CT scans precisely. Uh, Actually, CT scan is a computer tomography scan, and it is a uses of CT scan, and this is the precaution that we have to take during um, uh, in taking CT scan. MRI is magnetic resonance imaging. It works depending on the physical and chemical principle of nuclear magnetic resonance. This is the painless and safe diagnosis method, and the uses is right here. Twisting of ankles and back pain, brain and spinal cord, and this is the process for ECG. We used 10 electrode to get 12 signal, and from this 12 signal we detect the impulse, and we create an image that is in the form of ECG, and uses of ECGs to measure the rate and rhythm of heartbeat, palpitations, irregular and fast heartbeat, chest pain, etc. A diagnosis of abnormal heart rhythm. Heart is very fast, slow, or irregular. Number two, the heart attack, which happened recent or sometimes ago. Number three, an enlargement of heart can be recognized by using ECG. And ETT is nothing but doing ECG when we do exercise. It's a type of ECG, and the elaboration of ECG is ETT is exercise tolerant test. Is a test of stimulated heart, electric activities or functions, rate of rhythm of the heart during exercise, and are recorded by ETT. And diagnosis is for coronary artery partial blockage. And endoscopy that we have discussed in the very beginning of our class. That means endoscopy, sorry, it's a new topic. Endoscopy means looking inside something, but by endoscopy we mean looking interior of a hollow organ or cavity of the body uh, for medical reason. The process is shown in the right side, and observe this figure. And here the total internal reflection is used uh, to observe the whole organ, and using and by using endoscope machine, and uses of endoscopy is irritation, ulcer, inflammation, and abnormal tissue growth in the internal organ, the lungs, central partition of the chest, the stomach, small intestine, large intestine or colon, the female reproductive organ, the abdomen and pelvis, the inside of urinary bladder, the nasal cavity, and sinuses surrounding the nose and the ears. In all these mm, purposes, we use endoscopy. And this is a knowledge based question for you. Here, question and answer is shown. That's why I'm not going to discuss, because answer is here. And I think if you go through this, you will understand everything. And our second question is, what is CT scan? The that is a computerized tomography scan, combines in series of X-ray images taken from different angles around your body, and uses computer processing to create cross-sectional images, slice of bone, blood vessel, and soft tissues inside your body. CT scan images provide more detailed information than plain X-rays do. Here, another question is, what is biophysics? Actually, it's the definition that we have discussed. Actually, in biophysics, we uses physics method of physics to study biological processes. And what is an MRI scan used to diagnose? That is MRI, that means magnetic resonance imaging, uses a large magnet and radio wave to look at organs and structure inside your body. MRI is useful for examining the brain and spinal cord. Comprehension based question for you. This question is, how X-ray can detect cancer? I think you can pause the video and go through this explanation. This is the explanation by which you can understand how X-ray can detect cancer. Our next question is, why is biophysics important right now? Biophysics is pretty damn important to the molecular biosciences such as biochemistry and genetics due to structural biology. Biophysics is why we know that DNA is a double helix, which led to the understanding of how DNA stores genetic information. Biophysicists do have a claim to the rise of molecular biology. And there's a critical question for you. That is, Ratel went to a doctor, suffered with whole abdominal pain. After full investigation, doctor confirmed Ratul has gallbladder stone by using X-ray. Here, read this question and try to solve this. And this question is given for you, and it's the homework for you. And pause the video here. Take a screenshot of this and try to solve this question. And if you find any difficulties in this question, and you can ask me in our class time. Maybe you have some question. Okay, you can ask me in our class time. And thank you all for joining with us. I'd like to suggest you stay home, stay safe, and make the best use of your time. Allah Hafiz.